watch
How?
this?
How?
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 Ew,
How do you watch this?
Dude, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Hi, you're listening to How Do You Watch This, a movie review podcast where each week we recommend a movie in the genre we love but they don't. My name is Megan and I love romance.
My name is Demi and I love horror.
And this week we actually had our recommendation from an outside source. It is part of our common thread. So the common thread is the Open and Kill podcast, specifically with Michael Duran, one of the co-hosts. And he chose for us the movie Elizabethtown because last week, for you guys, it was 2 weeks ago for us, but last week we watched 13 Ghosts again.
Yes.
And that was a ride to rewatch.
It's always fun watching that movie.
Yes, yeah. My eyes are, I'm getting more, like, I guess,
yeah, you rated it higher.
I did.
So
I was
that's
pretty
cool.
impressed with myself. I have noticed that people who I meet in public and who I tell about the podcast are always so excited to talk about horror movies with me. And I'm like, I don't think you realize, like, I'm the romance. They're like,
wrong
let's break
girl.
down these horrible things that happened. And I'm like, I have to do this every week.
What about the romance?
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about the romance?
Exactly. Hello. Let's get a little bit more love in the room.
Romance is only popular in books, apparently. But
it's so underrated, underappreciated. Anyway.
It's true.
Yeah. So that said, Elizabethtown is the watch, and I have seen it before. I have my own, just like a handful of notes of things that kind of came through to me on this rewatch because it's been a long time. I watched it for the first time when I was a youth. And
how old is youth?
I mean, it came out in
2005.
Thank you. I probably saw it around that time, 2006 or so. So I was in maybe anywhere from 5th to 7th grade, I would say.
Very, very young to watch this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we'll talk about why I was convinced I was going to hate it on my rewatch. So, because, whatever, we'll get into it.
Okay, this was the first watch for me. I've seen and know the title. I've seen the photo, but I've never watched it myself because I didn't give a fuck. And here I am.
Hopefully giving a fuck.
We'll see if I gave a fuck.
We'll see. Yeah.
The movie's called Elizabethtown. It is 2005 movie, PG-13. The length is 2 hours and 3 minutes. It is a drama romance. The director is Cameron Crowe, who also directed Jerry Maguire. And that's all the details. I saw some similarities between these two movies, Jerry Maguire and Elizabethtown.
Okay, I'm curious about it. I'm also, I immediately after finishing this movie was in a little bit of the only thing I want to do is watch movies kind of a mood. So I put on just one of the next options that popped up for me on my screen happened to be Say Anything. And so I finally watched Say Anything, which happens to be a Cameron Crowe directed movie, which is crazy because I was in a whole different app than I watched the last movie in. So I was like, oh, the universe is just having me have a Crowe moment. But I want to see if there's 3 lights or all 3. Yeah, a Crowe moment, as one does.
Yeah, that's one I have to watch as well. So you'll just have to give it to me.
I plan on it.
Okay, cool. All right, so movie. We'll jump into it. So the movie opens with a recall of these shoes from Mercury Worldwide Shoes. Their latest product that was designed by Drew Baylor, who's our main character, played by Orlando Bloom. And I'm so not used to seeing him with his natural brown eyes. I just picture Legolas. He has the prettiest brown eyes. I'm just obsessed with them.
Yeah. He also just his little floppy brown hair or whatever.
I know.
There's one point when Travis walks in and he's just Orlando Bloom is just such an awkward actor. Do you know what I mean? Isn't he just an awkward actor? I was like, get his name out of your mouth. Yeah. How dare you? Excuse you. He's sitting over there with his floppy brown hair and you're going to insult him?
He's precious in this movie. I will protect him forever.
Yes. So rude of him.
So rude. So, there's a recall on these shoes. Drew is then brought to the head of the company, Phil, who's played by Alec Baldwin. It was a jump scare. Um, and he basically explains to Drew that the company is expected to lose basically $1 billion
Yep.
on the failure of these shoes. And I don't know if they ever say what the design
No.
flaw was.
No.
They were ugly.
They were hideous. They were absolutely atrocious looking. There's nothing given about what went wrong with the shoes or why.
Yeah.
We just know it's a failure.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter, but that's a pretty big, like, I don't know, maybe I can't imagine what
No.
design flaw it had.
Like, it dissolves as you walk on them? I don't know.
Yeah,
It had to
something
be
that would ruin your feet
And it's
forever.
something apparently wrong with the actual design, not like the materials or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they're blaming Drew, who all he did was draw and like came up with it.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. It must be pretty massive. Pretty massive
Yeah.
of a mistake, but we do not know.
It doesn't matter, I guess.
No.
So Drew is obviously fired, and he is like, I'm fine, everything's fine to everyone. And it's a really horrible moment. He returns home, and he decides to take all his stuff and put it on the curb and empty his house, his apartment. And then he rigs up the most awful contraption.
Yep.
It is his exercise bike, and he tapes a kitchen knife to it. So then when you're riding the bike, it's just stabbing you in the chest. And I was like, Drew,
Dude.
honey, there's other ways.
There's other-
You're going that route.
Yes, it was such a horrifyingly graphic concept.
Yes.
And so this is literally, this whole beginning sequence is like burned into my mind. And when Michael when he first mentioned that this was his favorite movie, all I could remember was there was this underlying feeling of like, I did not like that movie. There's something about that movie I didn't like. I completely forgot what happened in Elizabethtown. I just knew there was something I didn't like. As I was watching it, I was like, oh my God, this is the suicide scene that has been scarred me for life. Like, I literally, for all these years, I have this faint memory of a really tragic knife bike and this shoe company, and I forgot which movie it went to. I just knew that it was this really horrible beginning point, and it's like every once in a while I think about it, and I'm like, this is a horrible.
Isn't it, like, satisfying though when you finally realize what movie it's from?
Oh my God, yes.
It's just like, oh my God, this was it.
Yes. And then I'm watching it, realizing where this movie came from, and I was like, I am really nervous about continuing with this movie because
the
ick was so real when I was younger. I just didn't like it. And obviously, my poor parents, it doesn't say on the back of the movie, like, warning, content warning, you know?
No. When I saw, I was completely taken off guard. I was like, oh my God, okay, what is happening here? And I did put this as my deleted scene.
Yeah.
I couldn't really think of a good scene to delete. And I'm like, you know what? This horrifying bike, the idea of it is horror.
I understand his feelings in that moment of devastation. He is basically raked over the coals. His boss treats him like absolute garbage. This has been his entire life for 8 years.
Yeah.
He has completely isolated himself from his family in an attempt to boost his job. And I can't imagine the intense devastation of losing. Essentially, it's like you've lost 8 years of your life because that was everything to you.
Yep. So it is a lot. It is a lot.
Yeah.
And so he's sitting on the bike. He hasn't started it yet.
Dude, it literally, like, the duct tape fails at one point and it, like, falls. Could you imagine if he did try to make that work? It wouldn't have done anything.
No, I don't think it would have actually done anything. And I was like, oh, look, the universe is telling you don't do this. The knife is falling.
Yes.
He's not listening. But luckily, his sister, Heather, played by Judy Greer, calls him and lets him know that their dad has died of a heart attack while visiting the family in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And I thought the main love interest was going to be called Elizabeth. And it was like, oh, Elizabethtown, she's like quirky. And I didn't know it was a real place in Kentucky. But yeah, the sister is crying. She's upset. She's like, you know, mom is freaking out, all this stuff. So Drew obviously cannot go through with this because of everything happening. And Heather is basically forcing him to go and retrieve their father's body in Elizabethtown. And he's the oldest, so it's his responsibility. And so Drew's like, damn it. All right. He's putting his plans on hold for now. to go do this.
Yeah.
So he is on a plane flying over to Kentucky. And he ends up meeting the stewardess named Claire, who's played by Kirsten Dunst. And Drew is basically the only person on this flight, so she invites him to sit in first class. She jokes that I'm tired of walking all the way back to check up on him. And there's something about Drew that makes Claire want to keep talking to him. And maybe it's just she can tell he's just this sad boy.
Yeah.
I think Claire has a way with people, so I think she just is reading him and thinks that he needs this. So she's talking him up. She's from around the area of Elizabethtown, and they're talking about names, and she learns that his dad's name is Mitch, and she's like, Mitches are great, I've never met one I didn't like. And Drew doesn't say that his father's dead, and Claire eventually realizes that this is what's happening. And she is really nice. She's a little quirky, but she's really cute, and she ends up drawing a map for him and saying, you have to look out for this highway, you're gonna miss it, be careful, this and that. And she also gives him her phone number.
Which some people have critiqued and been like, no woman would do this. This is like not realistic or whatever. But look at freaking Orlando Bloom.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no, it's realistic. Because
shoot your shot. Yes. She gave him like 3 different numbers. Like, yeah, call me. Call me, please.
Yes. A sad, puppy-eyed man alone on a plane with me. Yeah, you know what?
He listens as I talk. Yeah.
Yeah, it's realistic. I don't care. Sorry, you don't look like Orlando Bloom. You don't get it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it would be a different story. It's not like she's giving it to this, like, crusty old man.
No, and Claire, she might. I don't know. I mean, she's a little weird.
Might. Yeah, she is.
So, they part ways, and Drew doesn't follow the map. He is trying to figure out his way. He's getting lost, but he eventually finds his way to Elizabethtown. He's driving through, and people are waving and kind of showing him where to go. And I'm like, I don't know who
I
this
don't know
man
how
is.
they knew it was him, but I guess they were able to peer into the window and see his face.
I guess. And they were like, oh, he looks just like Mitch, I guess. Because he's never met his dad's side of the family. This is the first time he's meeting everyone. So he's welcomed by everyone. Everyone's very nice. It's a little overwhelming. The house is just full of people and kids, and everyone's screaming and talking at the same time.
I fucking loved it, dude. It was so chaotic.
Reminds me of my family party.
Yes. It's literally like, I was like, oh, it's like you come into my family home at Christmas time where it's the noise level is so high. It's unbelievable. And it just felt so realistic. I honestly just felt like it was a very authentic moment of big family getting together and all that happens with it.
No, it really felt legit and authentic. And so he's a little shy, but everyone's, talking to him and welcoming him. He ends up meeting his cousin named Jesse, played by Paul Snider. He has these awful mutton chops. Awful. Oh my god.
Dude,
I couldn't stop looking at them.
They're so bad.
Girl,
they're really bad.
Worse than Bridgerton season 1.
Oh my god. No, they're way worse.
I thought those were bad.
Yes, those because they were long. Like they were long, but these ones went down his neck.
Where they went below his jaw.
Yes,
and I'm like,
they're
homie.
not supposed to do that. That's not supposed to be what happens.
So Jesse's really nice. He has this crazy psychotic little child, but he's really cute.
Oh my god, yeah.
And Jesse used to be part of this band, and he's kind of like a big child, but he's really sweet. And Drew ends up mentioning that they want to cremate their father, and everyone's like, I don't know. And they show him that there's a plot for Mitch already that's been in the family for over 200 years. And Drew's like, I don't know, I think we're gonna cremate, but he's thinking about it. So as all this is going on, a little bit afterward, the family ends up deciding to throw a memorial service for Mitch in a few days.
Is this after the point when we get a one-on-one conversation with Paula Deen?
In the oh my god, yes, Paula Deen. Girl, I was like, who is this woman?
I know.
I know
too.
her face.
I know.
God, you're right. Yes.
Yes. Paula Deen plays Aunt Doris, Auntie
Yeah.
Doris, or whatever her name is. And honestly, such an iconic role for her to play. She takes him into her room and does that aunt joke thing where she's like, I never get to take handsome young men into my room. And then she's pointing out everyone on the wall, and she's like, you know, I really should have a picture of your mom up here somewhere. It's like second, third, fourth cousins are all over her wall. And then she's like naming them all. And she's like, yeah, and he has, 3 nipples. 3 nipples. She says
3 nipples.
Multiple times. He has 3 nipples. Amazing.
No, it was quite the scene. And she's showing him photos, and he sees photos of his dad when he was younger. And basically the reason why they're a little not a fan of the mom is because they think she took Mitch from Elizabethtown and took him to like California. So that's like a whole thing with it. But anyway, so Drew ends up deciding to check into a hotel rather than staying with any family. And you know what? I get it.
Yeah.
He's going through things and there's just a lot going on. So he's at a hotel and he's like on the same floor as this wedding party. And it's a wedding for this couple named Chuck and Cindy. And it's just like they have a cutout in the hallway and balloons. And it's just chaos. Like this man cannot escape the chaos.
Yep.
And I almost feel bad. I feel like I would have just lost my mind if this was happening to me. I would not have checked in. I would have found a different hotel.
Yeah. No, for sure. If it was me... Well, first of all, if it was me, I would just... no one would be able to hear the celebrations over my loud sobbing noises. But,
right.
But yeah, I would want to have more solace than that.
Yeah. So he's in his hotel room, and he decides he wants to speak to someone. So he tries calling his sister, Heather. She doesn't pick up. And then he calls his kind of girlfriend, Ellen, who's played by Jessica Biel. And she doesn't pick up. And then he finally gives Claire a call. And she also doesn't pick up. So he's just kind of laying there. And then they all end up calling, like, at the same time. So he's having this, like, oh, can you hold? And it switches over. And it's, like, kind of talking to everyone. So his conversation with his sister is a little chaotic. His sister is anxiety-ridden and just freaking out by everything.
Yeah.
Because the mom is taking up cooking now and tap dancing and is, like, doing all these things after, like, the death of the father.
Yeah.
And the sister's not sure what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's happening. And then as he's talking to Ellen, she kind of just, like, dumps him and, like, definitely dumps him. It seems like they were already kind of
but she's
not
just, like...
a thing.
Puts the final nail in the coffin, so to speak, where she's like, yeah, it's over, we're done.
Right, and they both worked at the same company, so I'm sure that was awkward.
Yep.
And so then he's finally reaches back to Claire, and they end up having a really long discussion, and it's distracting for him, which is good. He needs a distraction. He ends up revealing that originally he was going to do like a road trip to Elizabethtown with his dad, but it never happened. And then Claire suggests that he should take a road trip returning home.
Yeah.
So they end up talking like throughout the whole night. And Claire reveals that she's only 45 minutes away. She's, off of work for a little bit. And so they decide to just keep talking. And then in the morning, they would just meet up to watch the sunrise before going their separate ways. So they do that and they separate, but then Claire shows back up quickly again. She just can't keep
can
away.
We just pause and say, I thought it was so funny how they're both sitting there looking at the sunrise and they're both just like, this was a bad idea. I'm so tired. I need to go home.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it could be the super romantic moment, but there's just like the honesty of that I thought was really great.
Yeah, their relationship together is really interesting, and it's really cute because Claire's just like, she's a silly goose. She really is.
Yeah.
And so Claire is supposed to leave for work. She works as a stewardess. And she ends up not going. She stays behind with Drew. She decides that he just needs a little bit more talking and people. Yeah. So Drew ends up definitely deciding on cremation for his dad, and Claire ends up helping him pick out an urn.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's really nice
for her to do. And so they pick out an urn, all this stuff, but then last minute Drew decides he doesn't want his father cremated, but he arrives too late and he's already like in the urn.
Yeah.
So He just has his dad's ashes now. And it's fine. It's fine. He ends up walking back to the hotel. And
part of this whole thing was that to him and his mom and his sister, the last time they had spoken to the dad about final wishes, the dad had wanted to be cremated and scattered. And so they're trying to honor his wish in that way, but then coming to terms with the reality of what that means, and also having the opposition of the family saying, you know, cremation isn't done around here. We don't do that sort of thing. I think the sudden realization and that fear of having made the mistake. And then he ends up being able to fulfill his dad's final wishes, which I think is you know, beautiful and better in the end, but devastating for him as he comes to realize, like, that was his, you know, that was his dad.
Yeah. So he returns to the hotel. Claire sees him, and Claire's been chatting up with the wedding party, and they're loving Claire. They really like Drew as well. Like, Drew ends up talking with the groom after trying to steal some beer from the room, and it's just like a really kind wedding party. They're just vibing. So Claire and Drew end up the room that the memorial is going to be in is the same room that the wedding is at, the reception. So they like sneak in there. It's all dressed up for the wedding, and they put the urn on the table to kind of see how it looks. And they're just having a silly time. And they have this weird like relationship thing because Drew's like, you deserve more than me. And Claire's like, well, what do I deserve? And he doesn't really answer her. But they like start kissing and stuff because he likes her. And you know, he's just...
What did you think of the kiss? Like, what was your feeling on it?
I liked it. You didn't like it? Okay.
No, I loved it. I thought it was a great kiss. I feel like sometimes that first kiss moment is not satisfying, and it was very satisfying for me. I think it was cute the way it happened.
Because it was very much a like, no, we can't.
Yeah.
Like that. What you mean? So they end up having sex, I think.
No, I don't think they do, because the voiceover is saying where he said, like, basically apologizing for kissing her, and she said that was more intimate than any sexual experience she's had so far.
Right. So I was like, okay, they didn't.
Right. But I understand the confusion because of what happens next. I'm going to look it up, actually, while you explain what happens next.
So they're like, they wake up together in his room, and he's like topless, but she's still wearing a dress. So I'm like, okay, what happened here?
Right,
like,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe he sleeps without a shirt. Like, that's fine.
Could be. It could be.
And she is looking for her shoe. He's sleeping. He's not waking up. And she tries to, like, make some noise as she's leaving to see if he'd get up. And then she does, like, the most, like, cringe Manic Pixie Girl thing ever. But she's the OG, so it's fine.
Yes, yeah.
So as she's, like, starting to, like, walk out, she, like, does a fake snapshot and pretends to take a photo of him as he's sleeping, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, she does do that throughout the movie, though, that picture thing, and that was another thing that I had remembered, and I remembered utilizing that because, of course, I was young enough that I'm gonna make my personality like the Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
Of course.
As much as I can. So I would do that. Obviously, like, take a picture of nothing. Pretend to take a picture because I thought that was cute. And watching this back, it was like, oh my god, that's where that came from.
This is it.
Okay.
Claire ends up walking out, and Drew wakes up just in time to catch up to her. And he stops her, and he's just like, I'm a failure, and tells her about the shoe thing. And she's like, what the fuck? She's like, I was kind of hoping you would just, like, not want me to go. Which is fair.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't care about shoes.
Yes. I also think that part of it is, like, she's like, who fucking cares if you failed and did something wrong? Like, that doesn't matter. Hello, I'm in front of you right now.
Yeah.
I'm leaving. This is what matters.
Right.
You stupid boy.
Yeah, exactly. She's just straight up like, it doesn't matter. What takes courage is moving on, you know, like continuing on. So, yeah, because he's freaking out because basically I think the day after newspapers and magazines are going to start coming out about the article and everything, so everyone will know. And like, listen, it's a little rough, but like, who's reading about like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't give a fuck. No one's gonna give a fuck in like a month, all right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And that's what I think everyone who's ever had this moment of feeling devastated and like they can't move on because of this horrible thing that happened is that it's gonna pass. That's the thing about time. Everything moves on. All of the most horrible things that have happened to you will one day be a distant memory.
Yep. And if it's not a distant memory,
Yeah.
you know, it'll come up once in a while maybe, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely my like worst memories come up every once in a while, and I just, you know, you breathe through it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
So now we get to the day of Mitch's memorial service, and I have this whole thing as my most memorable scene because it really is. So it starts with various people talking about Mitch, about, you know, how much they love him and all this stuff. This one woman's like, I really loved him.
Yeah,
And
that
it's
was
like,
because that was like the woman he left the wife for.
Yeah.
I don't know if that clicked, but did you see how at the end she stole his gigantic picture?
I was like, who was I didn't realize that was her. It's so funny. Oh my god, I can't even imagine. Yeah, all these people were talking, and then finally, the mother, Holly, gives her speech. And she is like, you know, I know you guys are like, think of me. It's not my fault. We met in an elevator and we went to Disney. We were in Japan. I don't know what their jobs were. But she kind of tells their story and that they were in love and all this stuff. And then she talks about, you know, how they all love Mitch. And then she talks about things she wanted to do after he was gone, to like kind of get closer to him. So all those like crazy ideas she had all kind of related to this moment. And so she ended up taking like comedy classes and tells this joke about, you know, being a widow and this pervert neighbor and gets everyone laughing. And she ends up doing this impromptu tap dancing dance to his favorite song. And it was just like such a nice moment. Like it's like genuinely such a sweet
Dude,
speech. And I loved it. I really loved this scene.
I was crying. She started dancing and I was like weeping.
I got a little emotional. It was really intense, but it was really, really sweet. And, you know, it's a great speech from the mom and everyone's enjoying themselves and enjoying the dance. And so Drew steps out for a moment and he sees Claire and she's brought a gift for him, and it's this kit for his road trip back to Oregon. And before they can really say anymore, Drew's cousin Jesse ends up playing on stage with his band, and they play Freebird to tribute to Mitch. And there's this giant like paper mache bird, and it starts like flying through like on a rope, and it catches on fire. And instead of stopping while everyone's screaming, they're just going off. The band keeps playing, and I was like, this is so iconic. And the sprinklers are going off, so the fire's out, but everyone's getting wet, and the band's just living. Like, they're just playing. Drew and Claire end up, like, laughing about it as they evacuate everyone. And, so this whole thing was just iconic.
It was amazing. I loved it. I loved the random speeches at the beginning of the memorial service by all of the people who knew Mitch. I thought that was great. The mom talking was so beautiful. And also up to this point, like the family, they're not really seeming like they're processing their feelings that much. Like the sister cried when she was calling, but then there was a lot of anxiety around the mom. And the mom is in this like very hectic state of clearly trying to fill some gap in her life, and Drew has not cried at all this whole time. And then this beautiful speech from the mom that just was so well done, so well acted. That whole scene was gorgeous.
Yeah, and the mom, by the way, I don't think I mentioned, is played by Susan Sarandon.
Yeah, she does a great job.
Yeah.
And then the band playing Freebird.
Which sounded really good.
Which sounded so good. And then playing through the sprinklers really was, I mean, 10 out of 10.
And then the next day, so they
also, Claire doing the air hostess, like, signals to get off, to get out of the area. So good.
It was great. It was great. The whole scene was great. And the next day, they end up using the plot to bury some of Mitch's stuff. So they put like his suit and a few mementos. So they were able to utilize that as well as cremate him. And as the coffin starts to go down, it just like glitches and like drops real quick. And people like gasp and laugh at the same time. It was so funny because it just kept
So good.
dropping instead of just easing down. And it was great. So all this is done. Drew decides to do the road trip. And he opens this box from Claire, and it is intense. It is full of like CDs to play at a certain time, photos, maps where Claire has marked everything, and just it's insane.
It's probably the nicest gift anyone could ever give another person, because that is an insane. There's obviously no possible way that a human being could have made that in the amount of time that she made it.
No.
Because things are timed out perfectly. And it's so beautifully done. And obviously, the instant I saw it, I was like, why have I never gotten a map like this before?
I don't think any normal person would do this. And it was incredible. I was like, wow, I am so impressed. This is so nice. And it's so detailed.
Yeah.
And so he's following her instructions, and it's leading him to various little areas and quirky stops and historical stops, and it's really nice. And as he's stopping, he's sprinkling part of his dad throughout.
Yeah.
And it's really nice. And so finally he gets led to the world's second largest farmers market, which I was curious where the first one is.
I know, I am curious too. I am really curious about that too. But before you go, he does have part of what I really loved about this journey was that it was sorry, I keep interrupting you. I'm just so many thoughts. But part of what I loved was she was like, don't call me until you get to the end, and don't skip ahead. Just go through the process and feel your feelings. She was all about kind of having him process and go through his like levels of grief with this, because he clearly had not yet handled emotionally what had happened to his dad. So he's kind of starts having this conversation with his dad when he's in the car and driving and like talking to the urn. And suddenly he just like, it hits him and he starts sobbing. And I started crying too. I was like, it was just very beautiful of the way he was able to finally grieve.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Freaking copper in the background. To finally grieve and to give him a space to process everything that's gone on recently for him.
I do really like this scene a lot. It's probably my favorite scene of the movie, of him doing the road trip, just because it is just really meaningful, and it was just nice to see Drew finally kind of come to terms with things and experience different things and kind of be by himself, with his dad, technically. And do that road trip. So it was really, really nice. And so he ends up at the world's second largest farmer's market. And there's a few clues saying, go to this stall and find the Cocker Spaniel book, and there's a note in there. And so he finds it. He's like really excited. He goes to the next stop, and then he finds instructions that says you can either get back in your car and continue the journey, or you can look for a girl with a red hat. So he's looking around, and this is one of my favorite romance tropes. It's a trope where they're both in the crowd and they're looking and they finally see each other, and I'm just like upset. It's such a good. It's so good. I eat that shit all the time.
It's so good.
So good.
And then like you see with the way they filmed it too, like the people moving in front of them, so it's almost like you're there and they're like just catching glimpses, but they know it's that person and their face starts to light up.
Yes, I actually just watched West Side Story the other day on the plane, and like the scene where they see each other, I'm like obsessed with this idea of just seeing each other with all this chaos, everything's happening, and you just see each other, and it's just so romantic. And so he finds her, he ends up choosing to stay with her at the market. Duh. How could you not after that? Oh my god. If he didn't pick me, I would have found him and killed him. So
yes, there's I mean, after all that work she went through,
I know.
That would be cruel. That would be so cruel. She's lucky too that he followed it to a T, because otherwise, what if she was there like the day before and he was just taking his time, eating another set of wings or whatever.
Right, she's lucky that he's very punctual.
Yeah.
So, that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, and I'm going to just answer a really pressing question that you had. The world's largest farmer's market is in Mexico City.
Okay. All right. There you go, everyone. I love farmer's market.
It's so great. It's amazing.
All right. So.
Oh, and something to tell you. Okay, one of the fun facts about his choice. So when he's at this second largest farmers
Yeah.
market, we see a tree and there's all these signposts, and there's silly signs like this way, that way, whatever.
Mhm.
And one of the signs points towards Honolulu, which is where she was going to be going to Hawaii on that trip that she
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
go to. So that's why he chose to move in that direction to look for her in the crowd.
Very cute.
Yeah, super cute.
Very cute detail. Yeah, so
Yeah.
this movie, I think one thing I do really like about it is the theme of, like grief and kind of learning to overcome that and overcome things that are difficult and learn about life and people. And I really like that about this
Yeah.
movie. So I really wasn't sure what to expect. And I do feel like the romance was a little in the background.
I knew you were gonna say that, yeah. Because I know
Which
you
isn't
like to
bad.
be smacked in the face with the romance.
Which isn't bad, but it felt like it reminded me of Jerry Maguire, where there was a main story and there was romance as well, but I don't know if I would have considered it a full romance, but probably more than Jerry Maguire.
Okay.
But
I mean, whatever.
it's not a bad thing, I'm just saying. Anyway, okay, so I'll go through the rest of my list here. Main love interest, smash.
Yep.
Both, yeah, Avi. Side character, I ended up picking his cousin Jesse.
I knew you would.
I said other because with mutton chops, no.
Okay.
Without-
All right.
Yeah. After that Freebird performance, yeah.
Yeah, see, for me, the Freebirds performance, I was like, you know what? It's the mutton chops are fine.
Listen, he was drumming and singing. I was
Dude,
like,
that's
impressive.
Are you kidding me? That's next
Incredible.
level shit, dude.
So.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
other. The mutton chops are real bad, girl.
No, they were really no. They were really bad. When I first saw him, I literally have written down in my notes. One of my notes just says mutton chops.
Yeah, I think I wrote those mutton chops are foul.
Yeah, they are.
It's like my note. So, anyway, it's fine. Fall in Love, I put a 10 because if it was me with Claire, absolutely, she did so much for me.
Yes.
Me with Drew, obviously, he's hot.
Hello. I love it first sight. Anybody?
Yeah, I'd make it work. I would be as crazy as Claire. So, recommend. I was a little unsure about recommending this movie because I'll be honest, the first half of the movie, I felt a little bored with it.
Okay.
I just wasn't sure. It just kind of felt like things were just moving along. And I think when it got close to the memorial scene, it really picked up. And I really enjoyed that scene. I really enjoyed the road trip scene. And I think it finished really well. I was like, I don't know. I guess I would recommend it. It would be dependent. But so Hearts, I did have a hard time rating this movie.
Okay.
Because I
Do you want to know what I gave it first before you? Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. So I gave it 5. I gave it 5. Yes.
Okay.
For me, this was a really good romance, and it also pulled at my heartstrings for other things. I do love when the romance has some of that deeper layers to it as well. The minute a movie makes me cry, it tends to go up on the list, higher on the list, because you evoked emotion from me.
Yeah.
So, but
unless it's hard,
then
it gets less.
Those emotions, no, crush it down. Absolutely not. No, but I don't ever like crying in movies, but this one had a happy ending.
Yes.
And I did enjoy their dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can now explain why it was challenging for you. I will say this. I was going into this I can't believe we had our first guest on and I'm going to have to give this a bad rating. I was so nervous that I was going to be like, you have bad taste in romance movies. But no, this was a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
All right, I'm just going to say what the rating is. I gave it 3.5.
Okay.
I did about half because, like I said, I felt like at first it was a little boring, and I was a little scared he was going to commit suicide at the end. So
oh my God!
I had this fear.
God. Yeah, I'm sure that ruined the movie in a lot of ways.
And I also really like Claire and Drew's characters, but I felt like their relationship was a little weird too, and I wasn't sure what to make of it. And that's just me personal, I guess. But I don't think it was bad. I like their chemistry, but I don't know. There was something weird about it.
So I completely understand where you're coming from with that, where
Mm-hmm.
for me, the road trip that he went on was so important because if that didn't happen and they had just been together, I think it would have felt a little bit too much of that I can fix him or she's fixing me situation where you're just putting a Band-Aid. I felt like they were able to give him a little bit of a grieving process. Obviously, he's going through so much and he's clearly in a bad emotional state that if this was real life, I would recommend that person take some time before getting into a relationship. However, being a movie, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, it's fine.
But
it's fine.
I do agree with you that there is that challenge with this relationship where a lot of what she's doing is kind of like soothing his wounds, which doesn't give a lot of opportunity for us to feel the exciting chemistry as much. But I do think they also like showing that long phone call together and the way that they're talking about everything made me feel like, okay, they have a bond. They have something deeper.
Yeah. No, definitely. And like I said, I think Claire is, I do like, usually Manic Pixie Girls, you know, I get a little iffy with, but I do really like Claire's character because I do think that she is just like really good with people. I think she reads people really well. And I think she's just like a genuinely good and nice person. So it didn't feel like she was being weird or forcing anything. You know, it felt like she like really kind of could tell what Drew needed. And so I like that. But yeah, that is my rating. So
okay, yeah, all right, that's fair enough.
I think it was solid. I think it was a solid movie because I feel like there's a lot of ratings online for it and it's not great, but I don't think.
No, and that's where I'll go into this. Like the coinage of the term "Manic Pixie Dream Girl" came from a review that was done on this movie, and it was done by it's a guy named Nathan Rabin. He wrote for The Onion, and he wrote as part of their like the AV Club is like the column.
Yeah.
And what he said was, and I will give a direct quote: "The Manic Pixie Dream Girl exists solely in the fevered imaginations of sensitive writer-directors to teach broodingly soulful young men to embrace life and its infinite mysteries and adventures. The Manic Pixie Dream Girl is an all-or-nothing proposition. Audiences either want to marry her instantly, despite the Manic Pixie Dream Girl being, you know, a fictional character, or they want to commit grievous bodily harm against them and their immediate family. As for me, well, let's just say I'm not going to propose to Dunst's psychotically chipper waitress in the sky anytime soon." So, he clearly didn't like it. But what's funny to me is that I think that this is an instance where the Manic Pixie Dream Girl is a positive character and not an annoying character. And I think that part of his drawback that he comments on in his essay is saying that she's a two-dimensional character meant only to help the guy move through something, and that her role isn't very pivotal in his life. But I don't think that, ironically, I don't think that fits the category here with her. I think she is a Manic Pixie Dream Girl, but not someone. A lot of times the toxic ones are like they have some sort of major issue. You know, you look at Eternal Sunshine on the Spotless Mind, where she is like, she has a lot of issues. Yeah. They don't usually end up together in the end. There's kind of this a little bit of like toxicness in the relationship as well. Right. And I don't think that's here. I think she's just sweet. And because the romance isn't the overarching plot of the movie, I think that we don't get to flesh out her character more because it is a little bit more about the death of his father. And him going through that with the underlying notes of the romance. So I think it's forgivable that we don't get her completely fleshed out.
And it's also, there's just like things that don't matter. Like the shoe, why did it fail? Yeah. It doesn't matter. Like Claire, you know, we know a little bit about her, but when it comes down to it, it is about Drew and dealing with this grief. Yeah. And like learning about his father and all these people that loved him. So yeah, it's a little different in that way. But yeah, if it was more of a romance, I'm sure we would have gotten, I would hope we would get more
for her
from Claire. But and I don't think she was like this driving force. No. You know, I don't think so.
No.
There's definitely movies like that, and I would not consider her one of those. In my eyes.
No, and I did like start looking into a little bit like the guy who wrote it, so Nathan Rabin or Robin, I don't know how, it's Rabin. So he ended up writing, not like recently, but relatively recently, an article saying like his deep regret over coining the term Manic Pixie Dream Girl. He's like, he feels like so responsible for the cliche, and he's like it was a critique and it's now being like taken out of context or whatever. I was like, dude, you're putting way too much pressure on this. Like,
yeah, it's literally
I get
fine.
that you coined a term, but it's not like this was the very first invention of the character. It's been around for a while and we see it a lot. It's just a trope. It's a trope.
Yeah,
and it's a
exactly.
type of character in the way that sad boys are a type of character.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
he came up with a catchy name, and because of that, it has been pervasive. But in his essay, he's like, I went to this Broadway production of something called Manic Pixie Dream Girl, Dreamland, and he's like talking about this surreal experience, and I was like, bro, like it's
literally not that big of a deal.
Yeah, you came up with a term, like. Someone came up with the term IYKYK, and they're not over here like, can you believe what they've done with that? Like, it's cool.
You don't need to take yourself too seriously. Take it too seriously.
Yeah. So. And, I love a good Manic Pixie Dream Girl when done right. I think that this one was done right. I think they can be annoying at times, but I didn't find her character annoying.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're iconic. No matter what, they are iconic for a reason. Yeah.
So the film was inspired by Cameron Crowe's visit to his father's grave, which was his first trip to Kentucky since his dad died 16 years earlier, and he was really overwhelmed with emotion. So I thought that was really beautiful where it came from. He had written the role of Drew Baylor with Orlando Bloom in mind, and Orlando Bloom was in the middle of filming Kingdom of Heaven, which I don't know that I've seen. I don't have a direct memory of that one very well. So he tried to cast other people, but no one really fit the bill, and he kind of just forced it to happen where it was Bloom. Bloom was able to make room in his schedule, and they had it set. And then he also really visualized Kirsten Dunst as the lead lady. And so, he tried to put Ashton Kutcher as the leading man and was like, nah, the chemistry's off. I don't want Kutcher. And
Orlando was very popular at that time too. He was in everything.
Yes, he was. Paula Deen made her big screen debut in this movie. And the characters, of course, featured doing a lot of cooking, and as a Food Network special, Paula Goes Hollywood aired in conjunction with this film's premiere.
Oh my gosh.
I know. The director apparently likes to include a reference to Audrey Hepburn in all of his movies, and so in this one, a scene from Roman Holiday is on the hotel TV. My last big fun fact is that the film originally ended showing Drew's shoe design become a hit, but they cut it to avoid ending fatigue at the end of the movie. And I think that was for the best, because something I really liked about the movie is what you were saying earlier, the fact that it doesn't matter, that his failure didn't matter, the shoe didn't matter. That's not the point of the movie, and I think it would have just kind of taken away and made it
I think I would have hated that.
Yeah, it would have just felt too much like tying a bow and making it neat. In my brain, I can pretend like everything went well. I can fill in that gap on my own.
But also, I feel like everything he did just didn't matter, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not, who cares about the success of that? It's about, family and grief and love and all those other actually important things.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely would have docked an extra point if they pulled some bullshit
that would have been
that.
It would have been a lame way to end it. Yeah. Okay, something that I thought was really interesting, and I don't know if you don't think this is interesting, we're just gonna cut it.
Okay.
So I thought it was really interesting. They kept quoting the dad as saying, if it's not this, it's something else. And I thought that was really interesting, because if it wasn't for his dad dying of a heart attack, if his dad had lived, he would have died by suicide. He would have done that. And so if it wasn't the dad, it would have been him.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was a really kind of poignant point.
Yeah. No, that's really true. And it's like sad to think that his dad dying is what kind of saved him and like made him meet all these people that he never met before. And so really interesting.
Yeah, that was Elizabethtown. It was good. I enjoyed it. I genuinely enjoyed the experience of watching it. I probably won't do a rewatch for a long time because I'm good on crying. I'm good.
It is sad. It was, you know, I was a little emotional.
I always end up, there's so many of these movies have dads dying. Like, it's kind of, what the hell?
It is like that. I'm like, stop killing dads.
Yeah, can we just let them live?
Everyone's got daddy issues. Shit.
I know. It's not cool. I'm not interested in it. Can it just be the random uncle? Like, God.
Or even a grandparent. Jesus.
Right. Doesn't have to be the dad. So sad.
Justice for dads.
Yeah,
for
justice
romance
for dads.
movie dads. That should be another thread.
Yeah.
Dead dads.
Dead dads. Pretty easy. Come up with quite a few romance movies like that.
Yeah. That would be easy. All right.
Yeah. All right.
My movie.
For next, I picked out the romance, so Demi's picking out the thread.
I had a hard time with this one.
Yeah, probably because you have no idea the movie that
I did look at like the plot.
Okay.
You know, just like the little summary, and I was like, okay, let me think on this. And like you said, I haven't seen it. I never heard of it before. So I was like really trying to think, and I'm like, all right, I got a thread.
I think I know what you're gonna choose, just randomly off the top of my head. If you're basing it on or is the thread gonna be like, I feel like the thread's gonna be like psychedelics or something.
No.
Okay. I got it.
I will say it's.
No, it's okay. You don't have to give me a hint. It's fine.
Yeah, figure it out.
You know?
All right, you're gonna have fun with this one. I've been wanting to give this one to you.
God,
and we are jumping back to Stephen King, our favorite man. Hit or miss with you. Which is understandable, completely understandable.
Yeah, which one is this?
So this one's called Pet Sematary.
Oh my fucking God. I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for it. I knew it was going to come, but I've heard about this so much in my life, and I've just been like, I don't need it.
This was a favorite of mine. I'd say it's probably my favorite story from I Love Carrie, but this one was like, I think his best story. I think it's the creepiest.
Is it gonna make me like really bummed out with the dead animals? I guess we'll find out. Am I gonna cry? We'll find out.
You won't cry. It's an 80s movie. This is 1989. There is a remake. Just make sure you watch the original.
Yeah.
And it is an 80s movie, so it's cheesy. I don't think anything's gonna really scare you. The theme is a little scary, so have fun with that.
For some reason, in my mind, every time I think of Pet Sematary, it gets merged because I haven't seen either of these movies. It gets merged with Ace Ventura.
I promise there's no like raccoon hand holding dead.
So for some reason.
That's so funny you brought it up because I just watched that when we were in France. I was like looking up movies and that movie was up and I'm like, you know what? I haven't watched Ace Ventura in so long. Lots of problematic things in that movie.
Not surprised.
It's literally just Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Okay.
But anyway. You should watch it just for culture's sake.
I know. But is it scary how bad it is? Because then you can give it to me.
There are scary things in it, you know? Maybe I could make it work. So, Pet Sematary, it's spelled Sematary. Spelled wrong. Yep. So it is about a family who moves to their new home in Maine. And after some time, they find their pet cat has died, unfortunately. R.I.P. little kitty. So they bury it inside a pet cemetery that's near their home. Totally normal. The next day when the cat comes back, alive, but a little different, they learn that the pet cemetery might be a little darker than they thought. So that is the plot. You can find it on MGM Plus, whoever fucking has that. Paramount Plus.
Okay.
Or possibly Amazon. I don't know. I don't trust it when I see Amazon on the list. I'm like, maybe not.
It could be under like Amazon, but with the MGM subscription.
Right, exactly. It's like, okay, that doesn't count. But anyway, so that is the movie.
Okay.
I'm excited for you to watch it and give your thoughts. It's gonna be a fun talk.
Sure. Okay. Whatever you say. All right. Thanks for listening to How Do You Watch This? You can find us on Instagram at How Do You Watch This and TikTok at How Do You Watch, or email us at howdoyouwatchthis@gmail.com. If you like the show, support us by giving us a review or recommend to a friend. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.